So good morning, guys. My name is Roshen Warnacula, and I'm part of the talent acquisition team here at Cisco Labs. First of all, thank you guys so much for joining this session today. I know it's a bit early, but yeah, thank you so much for coming in. So the topic we'll be talking about today is industry expectations and professionalism in the workplace. So before we get into the main topic, let me give you a brief idea of who and what Cisco Labs and Cisco Corporation will be a part of it, what we are all about. So let me play a quick video to help you understand more about Cisco. Yeah, so the video showed at the end, we reimagine food service through innovation. And Cisco Labs here in Sri Lanka is, essentially the innovation arm of Cisco Corporation in the US. And, one of our taglines is unlimited technologies, endless opportunities, transforming food service. So let me give you a brief idea of Cisco Corporation as well. I know some of you may be familiar with Cisco Labs here in Sri Lanka. Cisco Corporation is a much larger entity in the US. So Cisco Corporation is the largest food services company in the world. So they were founded in 1969 by John Doe, and we are headquartered in Houston, Texas. So the company, it's so large that we are ranked number 54 on the Fortune 500 list as well, with over $58.7 billion in revenue. So to give you, I think some of you all may have questions regarding the impact, COVID had on Cisco. There was a bit of an impact, but our revenue essentially didn't really change too much. And so the company pivoted, and so now we are again profitable, and we will be going forward. So about work at Cisco Labs, so it's not all just about working hard with breaks. We also have a lot of fun activities spaced throughout the entire year. So we have here just a few pictures from some of the activities that have taken place over the past year and a half to 2 years. We've had carrom tournaments, TT tournaments, gaming sessions, talent shows, beach games, so many more. Just to show you a little bit that that it's not all about work and that you need that work-life balance and that you need time to de-stress and unwind. So yeah, with that, let's just get into the main body of this particular session: industry expectations and professionalism. And just a note for those of you who are just joining, we'll be having a 15-minute Q&A session at the very end. So if you all have any questions in the meantime, do feel free to write that in the chat. I will check that at the end, and do my best to answer your questions. So let's start off with professionalism. So I'm not going to jump into any definitions here. These are things that you can easily Google and find out. So I just we want to get to what really makes you professional. And so number one, it's divided into three main areas. One, strong skills and competence in your chosen field. Without that, you will not be considered a professional. Qualities and behaviors you exhibit. This encompasses not just your work life, but how you act outside of that as well. And number three, the way you conduct yourself during your business affairs. So this is how you interact with your work colleagues, how you act or behave during meetings, how you interact with stakeholders inside and outside of the business. It covers all of that. So the first point really I want to cover under professionalism is appearance. Always remember that as a professional, you should be neatly dressed. No one should be telling you, you need to dress up or anything, but you should uh, always be neatly dressed. Your company may or may not have a dress code, but always meet or even exceed the requirements of your company's dress code if so. And if you're meeting any senior stakeholders or external clients, pay special appearance, pay special attention to your appearance. Remember that first impressions do count, and appearance plays a major role in that. Two, let's talk about demeanor. So demeanor basically is talking about how you carry yourself and how others perceive you. So you want others to see you as confident, but not, overly confident to the point where you come across as cocky, or maybe that people think that you're showing you have attitude. You don't want that. You want people to think that you're confident, but you're not cocky. So remember, always be polite and well spoken, regardless of who you're interacting with. It could be customers, it could be superiors, it could be all your co-workers. Doesn't matter who, always be polite and well spoken. And there's also a point to make that I want to make here. So as you move along in your work career, uh, you may become the expert in a particular field. You become the go-to person for difficult questions. So even though you may be an expert, it doesn't give you the right to treat your colleagues and clients like idiots just because they're coming to you for questions. So always remember how senior you become, or how much of an expert you are in a particular area. Always be polite and well spoken and treat everyone equally. Three, we have reliability. So often in the workplace, you will find that when you all join, you will be counted upon to find a way to get the job done. Tasks will be assigned to you, and it'll be up to you to figure out how to get certain things done. So part of that is responding to people promptly, and if you're making any promises, following through on those promises and commitments in a timely manner. This is actually the reference to tasks. And if there are any changes that occur during the course of you working on a particular task, always reach out to the other person and clarify everything. And if you're working with a large team, make sure that the rest of the team is on the same page, so that they don't think, for example, that if, for example, let's say a scenario where we're working on a group project, and your lecturer gives you a deadline of next week. And if there's a sudden change and your deadline is moved to tomorrow, for instance, make sure the rest of your team knows that, so that all of you all can work and make sure that you all meet the deadline. So that's reliability, and it plays a significant role throughout your entire career, because the more reliable you are, the more people will come to rely on you. They will have the confidence to assign a task to you or give you a responsibility, and they know that you will see it through to completion. And if there are any issues and you can't do it, you'll be upfront and you'll tell them, no, I can't do it, or this is what I need to do. So that's a that ties in, and that plays into your reputation throughout your work career. Four, we have competence. So always try to become an expert in your field. Do what you can to improve your skills, work on your skills, so it could be your technical skills or your soft skills. Work on them both as much as you can. And you can also work on your educational qualifications and your professional qualifications as well. Do courses, attend seminars, and obtain all of these related qualifications, so that people can recognize at a glance, even if they don't know you personally or haven't even spoken to you, they can they can just look at your profile and this guy or this girl, she's done so much. I'm sure she's at least an expert in her field. So this is something that you should be working on throughout your entire career again. You don't need people to come in, or your manager or anyone else to come and tell you, this is what you need to do. Now go and work on this particular qualification. People won't always be coming and telling you that. So regardless of that, you should be searching for opportunities to improve yourself and of course striving to become an expert in your particular field. Number 5, we have ethics. So ethics is something, this is not something that people really pay too much attention to, but conversely, it's something which is very, very important. As a professional, you must adhere to a strict code of ethics. This is, this can make or break a person in the long run. Because if you get up, if you, have a reputation for being a person who's not ethical, in the long run, people will not trust you. So remember, your company may not have a written code, but regardless of whether your company has a written code or any code of ethics at all, you should always display ethical behavior. Do what's right, be a person of integrity, and it will serve you well in the long run. Number 6, we have maintaining your points. Again, this ties in a little bit with your demeanor as well. And it refers to, again, how you carry yourself in difficult situations. So as a professional, you should be able to maintain your poise regardless of the situation you're in. For instance, you could be in a situation where you're doing a presentation, and in the middle of the presentation, someone asks you a tough question. So it may be a difficult question at the time, and you may not even be fully prepared for that question. But regardless, take your time and answer the question in a calm and structured manner. So try not to let nerves get the better of you. That's where preparation comes into play. And do not lose your cool at the end of the day. So this, again, this applies to you in as well. I know you have presentations, individual presentations, and when you have to present, the results of your projects and so on. So this comes into play there as well. The more prepared you are, the better you are prepared for tough questions. And at the end of the day, remember, never lose your cool. Or if you feel that a particular person is maybe targeting you with tough questions, don't take it personally, and get to the extent where you air your personal baggage with that person. Don't get to that level. Don't go down to that level. Remain professional and remain calm and collected regardless of the situation and whatever questions are thrown at you. Again, this is something that will stand you in good stead throughout your entire career. Something you can do to prepare for this is, get used to public speaking. Because a lot of you all, I think, will find that, the first time you all speak in front of a large audience, you might have a tendency to freeze up. So the more you can prepare for this, for example, maybe taking part in Toastmaster sessions, or where you have the opportunity to speak in front of an audience, the more you do that, the more prepared you are for difficult situations, and the more you develop the ability to think on your feet, because that's what you want at the end of the day, and that's how you can maintain your voice regardless of the situation you are in. Number 7, we have phone etiquette. This is something that is very often neglected today. A lot of communication these days is obviously done through the phone and through email, etc. But speaking on the phone is a very important component of professional behavior. So if you're ever placing an official call, identify yourself by your full name, company, and designation, especially if it's a person you're speaking to for the very first time. And always remember, on a phone call, you're not trying to dominate the conversation. It shouldn't be a one-sided thing. You should always give the other party a chance to speak, and you should always listen. Always ensure that it's a conversation and that it's not just one side speaking, it's not you speaking, and not letting the other person speak at all. Conversation, and remember, do not dominate that particular conversation. Make sure it's equal and that you're listening to what the other party is saying. So tying in with phone etiquette, you have written correspondence. So this refers to mainly, these days it refers to emails and not letters and so on. I think in the workplace these days, you will very rarely be sending out letters. It depends on the industry you're going into, but generally I'm assuming for most of you all, it'll be emails. So Keep your emails brief and to the point, and keep your email with the tone of email. Keep it polite and formal, but not overly formal to the point where you come across as stuffy, right? So the intention of your email is to get all of the points across in a way that the other party can understand, by reading at a glance. You shouldn't be writing entire essays in the email. And, that's not what you want to do. Keep it brief and to the point. And something small, email etiquette 101. Never ever write in capital letters in an email, in all caps rather, no matter how frustrated you are. Because that's the equivalent of shouting at a person in real life when you put that up in email. So never ever do that. It's very rude, and you should never be doing that. Point number nine, I want to make under professionalism is organizational skills. As a professional, you should always be able to quickly and easily find whatever is needed. So this refers not just to your work area, which goes without saying you should be neat and organized, but also, refers to, if, for example, if you're heading into a meeting or presentation, taking along what's necessary. I mean, so example, this ties in with being prepared. So if you're prepared, that means that you have essentially organized things beforehand. And so at the last moment, you will be jumping around, looking for different things. So to always try and be organized, because it's a skill that will stand you in good stead again throughout your entire career. This is, regardless of what an industry or field or domain you go into, being organized will always stand you in good stead. And yeah, finally, the last point I want to make under professionalism is accountability. Remember that once you join the workforce or even right now, you are always accountable for your actions. If you make a mistake, own up to it and try to fix it if possible. Don't try to pass the blame onto your colleague and try and wash your hands of the matter. So in a more practical scenario, example, imagine that you've been assigned to the task with a strict deadline, and let's say through some mistake you have made, the entire project cannot be completed on time. So usually, the tendency as human beings is for us to find excuses and try to find a way to sort of pass the blame around, so that you are not the only person who's solely responsible. But don't do that. If you make a mistake, always own up and try to fix it if possible. So the fact that you own up and try to fix it is actually a good thing, because people will look at you and think, okay, fine, he or she made a mistake. That's fine. People do make mistakes, and that happens, right? But how you deal with it afterwards is, a testament to your character. So people will think, okay, this guy, or he or she made a mistake, but fine. He or she admitted to it and is taking the initiative to fix it. So, even if mistakes happen in the future, I know this person will always try and fix it. So I think to a certain level, I can actually trust this person with more important tasks. So it works out in the long run, taking accountability for your actions. On the flip side, if your company made a mistake, maybe you had nothing to do with it, but the company as a whole made some sort of mistake. If you're dealing with an external customer or client, and they come and tell you the company made a mistake, unfortunately, you will be in a position where you will have to take responsibility for it and try to resolve the issue as soon as possible. There's again no one you can point to and say he or she made a mistake. It's the company's mistake. And as an employee of the company, you have to step up and say, okay, it is the company's fault, but here I'm stepping in and I'm trying to fix it, so that you can move on with your work. Again, that's part of being accountable, and it comes with your work life. There are always situations that you are not totally responsible for, but unfortunately, being an employee, you will sometimes not have a choice and will have to take responsibility for mistakes that are not your own. Sadly, it's true. It happens in the work environment. So be prepared for it once you're joining the workforce. Again, guys, if you have any questions regarding what I've spoken so far, or if you want any clarity, do put your questions down in the chat, and I will get to them at the end of this particular session. Yeah, so let's move on to industry expectations. So I'm going to be talking here about what the industry really focusing on IT industry since I'm working at an IT company, but the IT industry expects from you as a whole. I try to keep these points as general as possible, so regardless of what company or industry you're joining, these points should apply to you as well. Right? Yeah, so again, the main question here is what does a company expect of you? So here I'm referring to fresh grads. I know all of you will be graduating soon and joining the industry. So this is targeted at you. And again, if you all have any questions, do feel free to ask at the end of the session. So one of the most important things that any company will look for from any candidate coming in for an interview is your communication skills. So remember, good communication skills are essential you expect to be hired into a reputed firm or organization. So your communication is assessed from the time you send in your CV. So your CV is going to be assessed. I mean, regardless of the technical skills or all of the whatever you put down, you're also going to look at your grammar, how you have written things, whether there are any typos, whether you have paid attention or proper attention to detail. We're going to look at all of that, and your assessment of communication skills starts from your CV itself. And then once you're coming for the interview, right from the moment you walk in through the door, or maybe from the point you walk into the lobby and deal with who is there to greet you, it starts from that point as well. So we want to see how you interact when you walk into the room. So for example, do you say good morning? Do you know the names of the interview panel? Have you paid enough attention to all of those details in the emails that you have been sent with the interview confirmations? We want to see all of that. And just remember, so you might be the most knowledgeable person in the world, but if you're not able to articulate your thoughts clearly, there's no point to you having the knowledge because you won't be able to show people that you know all of these things. Yeah, so imagine, for example, that you're joining a multinational organization. As I mentioned, most of you will be. You will be in situations, you will very often be in situations where you deal with clients or stakeholders or team members who work in different countries. It could be in the US, it could be in the UK, it could be, I don't know, it could even be Russia, it could be any country, but you have to be prepared to deal with team members and stakeholders across the world. So this is where your communication skills come into play. It's not just, where you speak in single and and expect to get along. No, that won't work. You need to improve your English as well because you will be dealing with multiple, foreign customers, clients, and stakeholders. So when you're speaking with these people, if you cannot get your point across to them clearly, that will cause actual delays on the projects and or whatever you're working on due to communication gaps. So you don't want that to ever happen. So brush up on your communication right now. I mean, you all have plenty of time to brush up on this and work on it. A lot of you truly understand this only after joining the workplace, how important communication skills are. So I cannot stress this enough. Work on your communication skills right now. Start working on them right now and do as much as you can so that when you finally join the workplace, you will have set a proper foundation for yourself. And so that you don't fall flat on your face when dealing with all of these geographically dispersed teams. So make note of this and work on this as much as you can. Point 2, we have innovative thinking. So remember that as a company, we all look for people who can go beyond the confines of a book or particular area of thought and come up with innovative solutions. Keep in mind that when we talk about innovation, it doesn't always mean coming up with a huge idea that changes the entire industry or changes the entire world. Innovation is that, yes, true, but it is also the smaller things where we're like, for example, let's say you're working with a particular Excel document and you see that the way things have been done, people are doing too much work, maybe copying things over. and lets you come up with a simple formula to make life easier for everyone who's using that. That is also an example of innovation and innovative thinking, because you're coming up with a way to make things easier. You're coming up with a way to make things more efficient. So innovation can be big or small. It's all about how you think and developing that particular mode of thought. You're trying to develop a mindset where you're trying to innovate, improve everything you do. So again, this is something you can cultivate right now, and the more you do it, the better you become at it. So where you look for things and be like, okay, how can I improve that? How can I make things better? It's a mindset when you do. So the more you look for it, the more it becomes a second nature to you. So yeah, again, innovative thinking, this is something you can try and develop. You look for things where you can improve, and eventually it will come to the point where you don't really have to think about it. It will become natural. And at an interview, again, this is something that is not easy to assess for at an interview. So what we use is we ask you for examples of things you have done in the past. We might ask you about a project you have worked on, and ask you about how you did things, or what you did to make things more efficient or easier. So based on your answers, we will try and assess, is this a person who has that innovative mindset and who looks to improve whatever he or she does. So again, keep this in mind, and whatever you're working on right now, try and apply this in that. All right. 3, we have the ability to lead. We look for the ability to lead. So all companies, when we hire a person, we look for potential. So potential is a combination of many factors, but also, major part is the ability to lead. We want to see that you have the ability to just, step up, take the initiative, and if things are not happening, you will be the person to be like, hey guys, these things are not happening. Why don't we do this, or why don't we do that? We look for people like that, because these are the people that move, further, that move, that get very far in their careers. Because without leadership, you will not be able to manage teams effectively, at least, and you should not be in a leadership position rather without this particular ability. So it's one trait that all leading companies look out for. And again, it's something that you can develop. It's not where, all of a sudden you're born with the ability to lead. People can start out at different levels, true. But this is, again, something that you can develop. And again, during an interview, we'll be asking you questions around things you've done in the past, maybe projects you have worked on, the role you have played. Maybe you have organized large activities, maybe a tract, or different clubs, and you can talk about things you did to organize events, and we'll be asking about the role you played in that. So our focus here, our point in asking you those questions is to figure out whether you have this particular ability to lead, whether you can adapt, whether you take initiative, and whether you can inspire people to do more, whether you can inspire people to not be lazy and to do more than they would otherwise. Again, this is a trait that you can develop. So work on it, so that when you come for your interviews, you are the best possible version of yourselves. Right. So then we have a positive outlook. So keep in mind, that any workplace is an environment full of challenges and obstacles. This could be in the form of the work you do. It could be in terms of the actual environment you're in, or it could actually be in terms of the people you work with. So it could be anything, and just remember that everything's not going to be smooth sailing once you join the workplace. You will have obstacles, people will be difficult, you'll have to deal with difficult situations. But if you have a positive outlook and look beyond, the immediate situation you're in, you will find it much easier to survive and thrive in the workplace. Again, this is something that you can develop. Don't always look at things negatively and be like, okay, this thing happened to me, so I think I'm in a bad patch, and bad things are going to keep happening to me. No, you shouldn't be like that. You should always be like, okay, fine, okay, maybe a negative thing happened to me, but what is the good that came out of it? What are the good parts? Yeah, so try and develop a positive outlook, because it will serve you well in the long run. And yeah, so finally we have, not finally, but one point before the last under industry expectations, we have versatility. So by being versatile, I mean that you, as a candidate, as a fresh grad joining a workplace, you all should keep an open mind, and you should always be looking to, go beyond whatever role you've been assigned. So if you've been assigned a particular, say you join a company as a software engineer, for example, just because you're a software engineer doesn't mean you're limited to just playing the role of a software engineer. If you see a gap in the team that you're working on, for example, so another team member needs mentoring, and you know that you have the ability to mentor that particular person, step up and play that role. Reach out to that person, be like, hey, can I help you? This is if you're having issues, I can help you with these things. So again, you can be the boss, you can be the helping colleague, you can be an understanding employee or courageous leader all at the same time. Do not be limited by the designation or the exact role that you've been placed into. Always look for opportunities to go beyond and expand, because by doing this you will not just help another person, but you will also help yourself, because you will find opportunities to learn new things. When you help another person, you will often find that you will identify gaps in your own knowledge and understanding of things. So this will allow you to help both another person as well as yourself. So keep this in mind, and try and do this as much as possible, even in uni and once you join the workforce. Then finally, under industry expectations, you have a willingness to learn. We look for this, I mean, this again, like I spoke about the professionalism, I mentioned the point of competence, this ties in with that. So you should always be willing to stay updated on industry trends and to learn skills. Again, this is not just technical skills, but applies to soft skills as well. So if you don't stay updated, what will happen is that you will find that after about 3 or 4 years, you're left behind. The rest of the industry will continue to move forward regardless of what it will do. And then with fresh grads and new people joining the industry, they will be updated on the new knowledge. You will be left behind, and you, at some point, your skills, your knowledge will become obsolete. So you never ever want to get to the stage where that happens. So always, upskill yourselves again, go to these seminars, workshops, do new certifications, and stay updated on what's happening in the industry. And like I mentioned earlier, it's not just technical skills, your soft skills as well. It could be your public speaking, it could be your communication skills. It could be anything, but work on those soft skills as well. Because the more you improve, the better you become, and that expands your scope. The more senior you become, it opens up more opportunities for you, the better you are. So never forget, always be willing to learn. People might not come and ask you, why don't you do this and why don't you do that? Again, this is something that should be coming from within yourself. And in terms of how you assess for this during interviews, again, is during the questions we ask, we'll be asking you, again, maybe giving you scenarios and asking you what you did, and whether if you had to learn maybe new tools and technologies, how you went about it. At that point, you look at whether you were willing to learn, whether you were happy to learn all of those new things, or whether you learned it only because you were forced to, and whether you did it unhappily. So every person is different, and every mode of assessment during an interview is different, but these particular points I've covered on the industry expectations, I believe is something that all companies will be looking for, especially at interviews. So the more you all do, the more you can do right now to prep for this, the better you will be when you actually step in or go for that interview.